So Canadians need to really start paying attention to the MAID program and start realizing that the government is literally pressuring medical facilities to implement the MAID program.
Serious question to the people in Canada. Are you okay? We're going to discuss it in today's video with a bunch of topics from the medical system to fast food and of course grocery inflation, along with an interesting rant that just shows the lack of empathy now that is in Canada. That is not only alarming, but I think encapsulates the real general feeling right now for Canadians. So let's discuss it in today's video. With that being said, let's dive straight into this today because this one is going to be a long one.
Here we go again. Honestly, y'all just shut the fuck up with this. Well, at least you get something. You get a lot more than some people. Be grateful that you get $200 because some people get less than that. It's not about that. Okay? Number one, it's not a competition between disabled people. We should all be equally angry at the government because it was the government, the Liberal Federal Party, that set the expectations that this benefit would lift us out of poverty. They said that from the get-go. If they had just said, we're going to create a benefit to help a little bit, then nobody would bat their eyelashes at $200 or less. But no, they set the expectation that this benefit would lift us out of poverty. So stop gaslighting us. We have every single right to be angry about this. We have every right to be enraged by this.
Now, you should never listen to the government when it comes to benefits. There's no benefit that is going to lift you out of poverty. There's no way. The benefits are there to help poor people, not to actually make them wealthy. But unfortunately, she was duped by the government. And I do feel sorry for people who voted for whatever party, thinking that they're going to do anything about the fact that disabled people have to live on pennies compared to what is always promised. But it goes back to the whole dental care thing as well, right? When that was being campaigned, everyone was like, wow, everyone's going to get free dental care. And then you find out to qualify for it, you have to basically be on starvation wages. So not a lot of people are actually even using that dental care program.
I don't care about this stuff, but I'm pregnant, I'm cranky, and I'm hungry, and I am extremely disappointed in Tim Hortons. I ordered a bacon and egg English muffin. This is what Tim Hortons gave me. Looks normal, right? Like, looks okay. Took a bite, and then I was like, what's missing in this bacon and egg McMuffin sandwich? There's no egg. Where's the egg? Where is it? Tim Hortons, what is going on with your service lately? Like, I swear to God. This is bacon and cheese on an English muffin. And I'm pregnant and hungry, so I'm probably going to eat it. But, like, what is going on? Did I just pay, like, $4 for 2 slices of bacon, a slice of Kraft single cheese? At this point, I might just, like, boycott Tim Hortons. And it's not even toasted. I just took a bite of it. Why have it out for me? I'm just a pregnant girl trying to eat a breakfast sandwich, and now I'm just eating cheese and bacon. Like, what the fuck?
If you're Canadian, I'm sure you've been to Tim Hortons before, and I'm sure you've had an order messed up. It's something that happens on a fairly regular basis. For me, personally, I stopped going to Tim Hortons a few weeks ago, not only just because it's way too expensive for the crap that you're getting, but also the fact that they mess up orders so much that it just kind of starts to enrage you. And then at this point, I'm like, you know what, I don't even want to deal with it. I'll just make my crappy coffee at home, which is still expensive because I got it at the grocery store in Canada.
10-year-old daughter was nearly because of a neglectful Canada's Wonderland employee. It was not my plan to bring this to social media. However, how Canada's Wonderland is choosing to deal with the situation doesn't really seem right to me. I will explain the story, I will tell you how they dealt with it, and you can tell me if they did the right thing. The ride that we were on was Alpine Fury. It had only been open for a couple of days, and before going into the ride, we did the test seat. Although my daughter is 10, she is very tall and she is very skinny, so I wanted to make sure that a ride that goes upside down more times than any other ride in North America with only a lap bar was going to be secure enough for her. Both of us felt comfortable with how the test lap bar was fitting, so we decided to go on the ride. I am fully aware that this is a new ride, and I am fully aware that the wait times are super crazy and they want to try and keep those down. My question is, at what cost? Daughter was sitting closest to the exit. I was sitting closest to the loading gate. I was secured nicely in my seat. Her employee was playing a game of duck, duck, goose with these restraints. Just rapidly going down the line and quickly just pushing down on everybody's seat. My daughter Lachlan looked at me and was like, Mom, my seat's not tight enough. And it quite obviously was not. There was a very large gap between the top of her thigh and the lap bar. And I was like, don't worry about it. We've been on many roller coasters. She's been riding the big one since she was 6. There's always someone else that comes by and like tests it, jiggles it to make sure you're safe. Don't worry about it. We'll get that person to secure you better. Except that didn't happen. A second person never came, and I started hearing the communication between the employees as if they were going to start the ride, and I knew my daughter was not secure. Lachlan was able to wiggle her butt out of the seat and stick her head out the side and be like, nope, I'm not good. My lap bar's not down. I wasn't able to fully reach over and click it down myself because I'm fully secured in my own seat. So I turn my head around as best as I can and I start shouting at the guy who did her seat, being like, no, 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 her seat needs to go down. It is so far, they could have fit 2 of her in her restraint. The guy's talking to her. Locked eyes. She's like freaking out, giving the thumbs down, like, no, I'm not secure. He tells me to push the lap bar down myself. Yeah, not my job, but I also can't. So no, come over and do it. Again, locked eyes. We're talking. In the middle of this conversation, he looks up at his person in the glass booth and goes, all clear? Ride starts moving and I'm freaking out and I'm like, no. I think my soul left my body in that second, because if you know anything about Alpine Fury, it is a launch roller coaster, which means right off the hop, you are going to go like 0 to 100 in seconds. It's insane. What to do. I am in full panic. I start hammering on her seat, trying to get it to click down. I think I got it to click 1 more time. Huge gap still. Very, very unsafe. And you know how they say if a kid is trapped under a car, a mom is strong enough to like lift the car? Yeah, I get it. Because as this ride starts to move and my daughter is looking at me with terror in her eyes, going, Mom, begging me to help her, I had to think very quickly, and I maneuvered my arm out of my seat across hers, and there was like a little metal grid bar thing that I clung to for dear life. I was using my elbow to push it into her chest, surprising I didn't break anything in her chest, and I took my other hand and tried to somehow maneuver it to hold the top of her right thigh. I cannot explain the feeling of blacking out and being dialed in at the exact same time, but that's what it was. I could not tell you a single feature about this ride, couldn't tell you anything fun about it, but I could tell you every excruciating second of what was happening between me and my daughter on this ride as I desperately tried to keep her in her seat. Also, please let it be known this is not about being overly cautious, paranoid, or nervous. Lachlan's been riding Yukon Striker, Behemoth, everything since she was 6. Okay? Like, she wasn't secure. I remember vividly thinking my arm's going to break. And if it breaks, I'm not going to be able to restrain her in her seat anymore. So I am begging her, please, Lachlan, hang on for dear life. I needed her adrenaline to be as high as mine was. I needed her to hang on that in the event that my arm breaks and I let go, that we stand a chance at getting to the end of this ride. I remember feeling her butt lifting off the seat and getting like a surge of energy and just like hammering her back down. And I remember at one point her turning her head into the seat away from me, and I could see her mouth moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. And she told me after the ride that she was praying because she was convinced that she was going to die. The ride was over and we pulled back into like the loading area. Actually, there was technical difficulties with the cart in front of us, so we were behind them. And I finally let go of the metal grid thing that I was hanging on, and my hands were shaking, but they were blue and they felt like they were like cramped like this from hanging on so tight. And Lachlan just looked at me and I was like, "You're good? Is everything good? Are you hurt? And she was just white. And then the guy who did her restraint, that gave the all clear, walked to the back of the car in front of us that was having technical difficulties, looked at me, looked at her and said, "She's good?" I went from anxious to pissed real fast. I said, "She's alive." And he goes, "She's good." I said she was hanging out of her seat, telling you no, telling you that she wasn't secure, and you gave the all clear. What is wrong with you? To which he replied, she's all good. Oh my God. Lachlan was alive. That was literally all that mattered to me at this point. I exited the ride. I will speed up this next part of the story. I was in shock. I was shaking so badly. I ended up into the gift shop and I was like, do you have ride photos? Is there photography on this ride? Because if there is, I want my photo. It's going to clearly show what just happened. We will have proof of me holding her in with her lap bar up with my hand on her thigh. No, it will, but because the ride's so new, it's not available yet. Of course, I went to guest services. I started filing a complaint. The girl behind the plexiglass was stunned and she was like, let's bring you into a room. And I said, no problem, where I'm telling her and some other employee what had just happened. And she was like, what the hell? And then I had, I guess, an adrenaline dump and I just start sobbing uncontrollably and I'm shaking and I am freaking out. I then get moved into a different room. It has couches, toys. Honestly, it's probably a room for lost children, if I had to guess. While we waited for the park ride manager to come and speak to us. And when he did, he was great. Super nice. He made no excuses for the behavior of the staff. He said that we should have been able to get off the ride. That is our right, even if she was secure. And she just didn't want to do it. Her being like, no, all good. She had the right to get off. And we were denied that. He also said that there were many staff up there, all of which should have seen this behavior and flagged it. And he also said that there were cameras up there and that he was going to pull the footage and deal with it.
Now, it's a pretty scary story. I mean, especially if you have a kid. I have a child now, and I can't even imagine going through that. I personally don't even like going on rides. It's just something that I've dealt with even as a kid. I just never really felt interested in going on rides. I don't like that feeling that you get in your stomach where it kind of feels like it's turning. And then some people love that. That's why they actually like to go on rides. So I know I'm just not built that way. I don't like those rides at all. I don't like rides, period. But in this situation, I would be panicking like crazy, and I completely understand and relate to her. Now, when it comes to these employees, obviously they literally don't care. There's a lack of empathy, a lack of care for their job. And part of it's probably because they're getting paid minimum wage and they just don't really give a shit. And honestly, when you have a job where you're actually looking after people in terms of safety and potentially life-altering and life-threatening injuries, you should probably care a little more than that. But again, Canada's Wonderland is probably a park that employs a bunch of people who don't really care. They pay them crap wages, and obviously that needs to change in this country. This is like one of the biggest parks in all of North America. You'd think that at this point they'd actually care about the people they hire and hire people who actually care about the job.
So Canadians need to really start paying attention to the MAID program and start realizing that the government is literally pressuring medical facilities to implement the MAID program. A great example is this hospice facility in BC that was able to be built using almost $8 million of charitable donations. But then to keep it up and operating and going, they need government funding. So they went to the government, asked if they could have funding, and they were like, sure, only though if you offer the MAID assisted dying program. And the director of the hospice facility was like, we can't do that. That is not our morals. Like, we believe in living until your natural death. We cannot offer that program. So the government was like, okay, well, we're not giving you any money. Simple as that. Bye. Like, you're gonna have to figure it out. Can you believe that? So this is the website of that hospice facility that turned down the $1.5 million in annual funding from the government because they refused to do the MAID program. They're like, no, we're not gonna help people die. We do the opposite. We support them through their journey to natural death. So anyway, go check out their website. The people and the organization seem absolutely amazing. Their heart is in the right place. And yeah.
That is crazy. The government will not fund them because they do not want to take the MAID program. And if you guys aren't aware, obviously she kind of goes through it a little bit in the video, but the MAID program is medically assisted death, basically. So it does stretch from a lot of things, not just cancer patients or anything like that. It also goes towards mental health and stuff. It's very controversial. I'm not going to go into the weeds with that right now, but if you guys want to research it, research MAID in Canada and you'll get a breakdown of how insane and controversial that program is in Canada. Now here's a grocery haul video, because we had to add one of these if we're going to talk about how bad Canada is right now and ask the question if Canadians are okay. Let's watch this video.
Hello, all. Just doing a quick little shopping trip at No Frills. This is in Tilbury, Ontario.
$5. Tissues. Oh, Pepsi. Oy, oy. Oof, $7. $4 for 5 bars. It's almost $1 a bar. Hey, look at that. At least it's on sale. $3. Not much of a sale, I'd say. $3 for oatmeal. $4 on sale for $4, and that was on sale. $6 with peanut butter. That used to be like one of the cheapest things you can get at the grocery store. It's 11% off. That's the sale price. 11% is a sale. $13 for cheese. Oof. Cheese always surprises me how expensive it's gotten in Canada.
So this is the receipt from that shopping trip. So it came up to $100.26, and then the taxes were $4.29. Let me know in the comments what you guys are paying in your countries or different stores.
Yeah, leave your thoughts about this video down below in the comment section. It always is shocking to see how expensive Canada is, but not even just expensive, but just how morally bankrupt the country is becoming in 2025. Again, leave your thoughts down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.